The Gilded Age was a time of rapid industrial growth and economic prosperity. However, it was also a time of corruption and greed, and no one embodied this more than Ferdinand Ward, a man whose insatiable thirst for wealth and power led him down a path of deception and fraud. Using his charm and trickery, Ward was able to swindle astonishing sums of money from some of the wealthiest and most prominent figures of his time, including a former president of the United States. His Ponzi scheme was built on a foundation of lies, deceit, and manipulation. Eventually, his scam collapsed, and he was forced to face the consequences of his actions. This is the unbelievable story of Ferdinand Ward and how he managed to scam a former president of the United States. Ferdinand Ward was born in 1851 in Geneseo, New York. His parents were Jane Shaw Ward and Ferdinand de Wilton Ward, and they had both previously served as missionaries in India. As time went on, Ward developed an interest in business and finance. He decided that he wanted to make a name for himself on Wall Street, and chose to move to New York City in the 1870s to pursue his goals. Once he arrived in New York City, Ward began working as a clerk at the New York Produce Exchange. During this time, poor living conditions were widespread in New York City. A large increase in immigration had led to cramped living conditions, and huge crowds caused illnesses to spread rapidly. Despite this, Ferdinand Ward was undeterred from his goals. Along the way, Ferdinand met a woman from Brooklyn Heights named Ella Green, who was the daughter of a wealthy merchant. Eventually, the two decided to get married. In 1880, Ward embarked on a daring journey that would change the course of his life forever. With nothing but his wits and a burning desire for success, he started his own banking firm, hoping to make a name for himself in the world of finance. This was made possible through an investment acquired from James D. Fish, the president of Marine National Bank. With Fish's backing, Ward began building his firm. Ward's brother introduced him to a man named Ulysses S. Grant Jr., who was also known as Buck. Buck was the son of the 18th President of the United States, and Ward knew that the Grant name could be the key to his firm's success. Therefore, Ward and Buck established a partnership, and the firm was named Grant & Ward. Since Buck became involved in the firm, his father, Ulysses S. Grant, decided to provide an initial investment of $100,000, which also made him a complete partner of the firm. Soon after, Ward began seeking funds from investors and falsely claimed that Buck's father, the former president, was helping them acquire government contracts. However, Ward began losing substantial sums of money through terrible investments that he'd made over time. This led to the beginning of the downfall of Ward's firm. However, what Ward decided to do next was truly shocking. The firm was on the brink of financial collapse due to Ward's disastrous investments. But instead of coming clean, Ward took matters into his own hands and began manipulating the firm's books to create a false illusion of prosperity. However, his deceitful actions didn't end there. Ward ended up creating a Ponzi scheme that was based on fake government contracts. In this scheme, he promised investors returns of 10% per month. But little did they know, Ward was not investing their money. Instead, he was using it to pay off earlier investors, and the scheme was quickly spiraling out of control. Marine National Bank had made an immense investment of $1.6 million in the firm through a loan from New York City. However, in 1884, the New York City Comptroller chose to decrease the city's deposits with the bank. This put Marine National Bank on the verge of collapse. Fearing the collapse of the bank, Ward asked Buck's father for more money, but Ulysses S. Grant, the former president, had already made a substantial investment in the firm and was incapable of coming up with enough funds. Therefore, Ulysses S. Grant decided to ask William Vanderbilt, a wealthy businessman, for a personal loan of $150,000. The following day, when Grant arrived at his office, his son Buck appeared and was visibly concerned. Then Buck broke the news and stated that both the firm and Marine National Bank had gone bankrupt. It was a devastating blow. But it was nothing compared to what came next. With a trembling voice, Buck delivered the final blow when he said, quote, "Ward has fled." As news of Ward's scam and the former president's financial ruin spread, much of the public was sympathetic towards Ulysses S. Grant. As for Ward, he was caught shortly after fleeing and was sentenced to 10 years at Sing Sing prison. However, he ended up serving 6 years. While Ward spent time in prison, Ulysses S. Grant tried to repay his personal loan from William Vanderbilt. Despite Vanderbilt offering to forgive the loan, Grant sold his house and gave Vanderbilt his valuable possessions from the Civil War. Unfortunately, this event had left Grant financially devastated. Shortly after discovering that Ward had fled, Grant said the following to the firm's bookkeeper, quote, "I've made it a rule of life to trust a man long after other people gave up on him. I don't see how I can trust any human being ever again." From this quote, it's clear how much this event impacted Ulysses S. Grant. However, there were even more consequences that came as a result of this event. The collapse of Marine National Bank had begun the Panic of 1884, an event which caused a substantial economic decline in the United States. This event led to a loss of confidence in the banking system and a sharp contraction of credit. However, evidence was released that demonstrated the stability and solvency of other U.S. banks. The public was reassured by this evidence, and the panic eventually ended. Overall, this story was one of greed and deceit. Ferdinand Ward's scheme was a devastating blow to the financial world and impacted numerous people. He used his connections and social status to win over potential investors. Not to mention, his desire to make a name for himself on Wall Street ultimately led to his downfall and left former President Ulysses S. Grant in financial ruin. In the end, Ferdinand Ward's story was filled with deception, manipulation, and outright fraud. His rise to prominence and eventual downfall is truly shocking. While his story may be a cautionary reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition, it also leaves many alarmed by the sheer audacity of this scheme. It is a story that will continue to captivate and intrigue many people for generations to come. As always, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. If you enjoyed this video about Ferdinand Ward, you should definitely check out my video that explains how Bernie Madoff created the largest Ponzi scheme of all time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.